I want to talk about the alkaline water. Let's talk to the people about the alkaline water, how powerful it is, why is that so important, what does it do, and how long does it take for us to see the results? The alkaline water, let's talk about that.
Okay, well, here's the thing first. Now, what a lot of people don't know is a lot of people got lost in a big scam. When they came with these changing machines, they came with the changing machines, and the changing machines started the alkaline water craze. And with the alkaline water craze was really about people getting their money back. You know, people had spent $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on these machines, and what people didn't understand was that they were still getting nothing more than tap water.
Wow.
I just did a live experiment on, I think it was episode 4 of Chasing Enqi, where I show people, because a lot of people be asking me, well, what if I put some sea salt and some lime in my water? Does that improve the pH? And I show people live on video that not only does that not improve the pH, but it lowers the pH. That's number one. So that's a false myth. You cannot put lime and sea salt in your water and increase the pH. That's number one. Number two, increase in pH is not what's important in water. What's important in water is the structure of the water molecules and the mineral content and the actual content of hydrogen itself in the water. Those are the basic things that's not addressed, and people don't understand those things, so they get ripped off left and right. I show people also that tap water, every tap water is purified alkaline water. If you turn on your bathroom sink right now and test it, it's going to come out about a 7.5, 7.8 out of the tap. You see what I'm saying?
Let me ask you a question. Now, y'all always say if you test it, how do the people go about testing it? What should they do? What are some of the instruments that they need to test the water?
You can buy a pH tester or a solute tester from online, eBay, Amazon. They're like $20, $30. It's cheap. But the point is this: what I want people to understand is that it's a false paradigm. It's completely false. pH is not what's important in water. That's just was a scheme for people to sell water. It started back in the 90s when the bottled water companies, Nestle, Coca-Cola, and them got busted for selling tap water in bottled water. And when they got busted selling tap water and bottled water, they came with the purified water instead of telling people it was spring. So when they came with this whole scheme, reselling people tap water, they came with the changing machines, the ionic filters, et cetera, but all these things is tap. It doesn't change the chemical or biological presence of things that's detrimental to your body. The same does, neither does lemons or lime adding it to the water. People think if they go to a restaurant and get a cup of tap water, they can squeeze the lemon in it, and now it's a new cup of water. No, you still got the same cup of rancid ass tap water with a little bit of lemon or lime squeezed in it. The only water that's really healthy for your body is water that comes straight out the earth.
Right. Right.
So this is why I stress to people to get spring water, get artesian water, get the closest you can get. Dr. Sebi's foundation was water. A lot of people that study Sebi and try to teach what he taught don't really understand the basics of his program. This is the reason why he brought people down to Honduras, to the land that he had, because he was right next to a volcano. He had the water piped in from under the volcano with all of the minerals and the heavy hydrogen and all of those key components, the transition metals, which people are buying at $100, $200 a bottle, which are they getting nothing more than a salt-based mineral that's not bioavailable to the body. So these are the key things that I wanted to talk to people about, you know, and it gets a little sciencey when you compare H2O to D2O. And that is what the base of Mom Atomics is D2O. It's not even H2O. D2O stands for deuterium water. It's deuterium, two atoms of deuterium and one atom of oxygen, which makes deuterium water, which is the original type of water that was around the planet before the water started to get so polluted and the hydrogen content got dissipated to some extent. And now what you have is very light water. So there's very little hydration even in the water, which is why we did a dry lips contest. You heard me, Sai?
Yes, I'm listening.
We did a dry lips challenge. Like people did this ice water challenge. The dry lips challenge is pretty much basic. No makeup, no lotion, no olive oil, no coconut oil, none of this fake shit. Just try to see how many cups of water you have to drink in order to get rid of your dry lips, your dry mouth, your ashy ankles, the ash around the back of your knees, the ashy neck, the dandruff. Like, see how much water it takes to hydrate your body. Those are all easy signs to see that your body's dehydrated. And the results was mind-blowing. 45% of the people said that they drank a cup of water every hour and still couldn't get hydrated. And that has a lot to do with their diet, what they're eating, blah, blah. I mean, just the list goes on. And the reason why this was so important for a lot of different reasons is this. You got a lot of people trying to jump into the health game, the herbs game, and they don't really know what they're doing. It's just a hustle. If your body's not properly hydrated, there's no herbs that works. There's no protein that works. There's a lot of bodybuilders that think that they can bodybuild and take protein and this thing and that thing. If your body's not hydrated, nothing works. Every protein, every plant, every mineral has to work in water. Everything in your body has to work in water. Your cells have to be completely hydrated for the proteins to even unfold. And that's where it begins to get a little bit more sciencey. But every protein, especially the pigments, chlorophyll and melanin and hemoglobin, they all have a certain range of the electromagnetic spectrum that they have to absorb. They can't do the light. And if they can't absorb the light, you're never going to be hydrated. Your health's never going to be restored. And it just has a whole cascade of events that starts with people not being able to hydrate themselves properly. And when I look around the holistic industry, people aren't putting the emphasis on the proper amount of water.
Talk to us about the crisis that's going on in Flint. How did that situation, did it improve? What's going on, brother? And being that you are the water expert, what are you doing to educate our people out there in Flint? Let's talk about that.
Oh, well, I put on a massive campaign to get the information out. People are worried about the lead in the pipes, and it's very simple. I can explain it to you in less than 2 minutes. This is why it's never, when I say never, never going to be fixed. This has nothing to do with lead and everything to do with fluoride. You hear me, sir?
I'm listening.
Everything to do with fluoride and this very simple chemistry. It is fluoride that actually leaches lead from the pipes. So the only way to actually get this situation under wraps is to get rid of all the piping in all the major cities, which would be trillions of dollars. They're never going to do that. The only way to get around that, honestly, is to get your own water. So I know people that are driving 3, 4, 5 miles to get real water because they're getting beat in these stores, especially Whole Food. I just went into Whole Food. They got, they selling people $10 gallons of purified alkaline water. I almost peed on myself laughing so hard at this shit. It's nothing more than tap. And alkaline doesn't even mean what people think it means. Because I show people, like I said, on the Chasing Enqi morning show, I showed the experiment with the lemon, the lime, the salt, but I also showed the simplest, easiest way to raise the alkaline in the water. And all I did was add 3 drops of ammonia and the alkaline went up to a 9.8, just like that. And that's all they're doing with these various waters. They're adding chemicals. They're chemically treating the water to get a false boost in pH. What matters in water is what type of carbonates, what type of minerals can be transferred to your blood cells. When you transfer the right carbonates and minerals to the blood cells, that allows for a higher transfer of electrons. The reason why electrons or negative ions are important to all you got to do is understand light. Everything is about getting light into the body. So light, photons, the only things that they interact with on Earth, the only thing a photon interacts with on Earth is an electron. This is the reason why it's important to get as much electrons, as much negative ions in the body as possible. And the foundation of that is hydrogen. This is why for years I've been able to miraculously reverse autoimmune disease, cancer, diabetes. I didn't even know. I'm thinking it's the herbs. I'm thinking it's my knowledge of the herbs and my knowledge of the body that's doing it. Once I really understood and learned what Sebi was doing, then I understood what me and Sebi had in common, which was the heavy hydrogen that we were able to dispense through me, through my mama Atomics, through him, through his therapeutic waters in Honduras. That is the real cause of health change, and because then it allows your body to hold, store, and utilize more light. When we look at the babies, when we look at all these young girls, and we see their bodies is growing at a super high rate, their bodies are aging fast. It's not that they're growing fast, they're aging. So they're gonna die in their 50s or 60s. This is taking years off their life because we don't understand the number one nutrient that we need is light. The number one nutrient we need is light in the body. So people are even getting confused about why they're changing their diet. You're supposed to change your diet and go off the meat, onto the veggies, onto the fruits, because you want to get to the highest light containing substances on the earth. And this is why back in the days when, you know, we was doing them debates on evolution and haplogroup this and haplotype that, I was saying that the brothers had a misunderstanding of this because all your haplotype refers to is the relationship between the mitochondrial DNA and the nuclear DNA and how they communicate. This is where electrons are processed. This is what's called cellular respiration. Cellular respiration is the key to all of the health in your body. Cellular respiration is being halted because we live in a stream of blue light. Like right now, the laptop that you're looking at me on, that I'm looking at you on, is nothing but blue light. Our cell phones, nothing but blue light. Now we have a particular new type of melanin that they just discovered. It's called melanopsin. It's a variation of rhodopsin and melanin, and it receives blue light and it shoots it directly into the pituitary gland. We living in a time where we're getting a high dosage of blue light and we're not getting any UV and we're not getting any infrared. It's infrared that structures the waters in our body and UV that provides the regeneration and the nurturing. With all this blue light, people are losing their eyesight in the last 15 years more than ever before on Earth. Why? Because the spherical shape of the eye is becoming deformed. And people that are not really well versed in the science of the eye, and trust me, I thought I was deep when it came to the eye because I did iridology for 5 or 6 years at length. That was my number one diagnostic tool, but I realized that that was only giving me effects, not really giving me causes. The eye is the master absorber of light. It feeds the light to the pituitary, hypothalamus, and pineal. This is where our cascade of hormones comes from. So if we don't have the right type of light coming into the eye, right, which we can't because we don't have enough water in the body, which means we don't have enough electrons to interact with the hydrogen coming in. So our melanin, the hemoglobin in our blood, doesn't properly unfold because it is dehydrated. So all of these things, you know, without getting too deep in sciencey, is based around our lack of hydration. 1% of the global population eats McDonald's like twice a day right now. And particularly brown and black people, because we are the least concerned with our health. We're the least concerned with hydration, some of the basics. We so into name brands that we've gotten name brand with our health. So now we're missing the basics, light and water. And until we get those two things correct, we're gonna be unhealthy. We're not gonna solve this issue. In my house right now, all of my light bulbs are purple, infrared, or UVB. I don't have no regular light bulbs in my house, period. In my living room, I think I have 2 cheap-ass full spectrum light bulbs, and that's the lowest I'll go. I don't use no regular light bulbs, especially on my children, because it retards their learning and it retards their motor skills. So a lot of the children now, if you stand in front of them, like when we did large jujitsu classes with the school children, a lot of them couldn't even follow the basic movements. Why? Because their mind can no longer communicate to their body and in sync. And that has a lot to do with their circadian rhythm being off. Their the pigment centers in the brain no longer functioning properly, so they can't communicate to their own body. This is where disease really begins to slip in. So people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s now, their liver is no longer communicating with the rest of the organs in the body. The mitochondria, the center of the cell, is no longer able to communicate and produce energy for the rest of the cells. So all of these are basic things that's spiraling out of control because we don't have water. And herbs, just like proteins, dehydrate the body. The more herbs you take, the more hydrogen you have to put into the body for them to work. So when you have a dehydrated person, go out and look for these herbs. The number one reason people go out and look for herbs is because they're constipated. People are constipated because they're dehydrated. So now when you're dehydrated and you go look for herbs to fix the constipation issue, or you go look for fiber to fix the constipation issue, what you're going to do is dehydrate yourself more, because your body's going to pull water from the cells to process the fiber, to process the herbs. So you're further dehydrating yourself, compounding the issue. This is why I've been able to, I've been pushing the Mama Atomics for so long with such a great amount of success, but we have to get more. We have to get more widespread coverage. I just put out a peer-reviewed science paper called Water and Melanin. Okay, you have this a couple of Europeans now. Gerald Ling, he's an Oriental guy. No, Gilbert Ling, excuse me, he's an Oriental guy. And then you have another guy, Gerald Pollack. These guys right now they're taking the credit for the science of water that's been around, it's etched in stone in the pyramids. It's been around for 5,000–10,000 years. Mona Harrison, et cetera, et cetera. So these guys have now went a little bit deeper, courtesy of laboratories and millions of dollars of funding, which we're not getting. Okay, you can send me some funding, 40dayfoodfast.com, so we can go deeper into this research. But these guys have been able to take their funding and show that it's actually infrared that structures water in the body, and UV radiation expands that structure, and it's that structure which allows the photoelectric effect, or the interface between electrons and photons. Now, here's where the kicker goes. I went through all their books, all their research papers. Nowhere in there do they mention melanin. Instead, what they do is they keep mentioning hydrophilic surfaces and hydrophobic surfaces. The number one hydrophilic surface in biology is melanin, because tyrosine, and I wrote this in my peer-reviewed science paper, it's called Water and Melanin, and you can go to my page, 40dayfoodfast.com, and read the whole page. But tyrosine specifically is the most weird amino acid there is, because it doesn't fit and sink into any of the groups. It absorbs UV radiation, it's hydrophobic and hydrophilic at the same time. But what that does is it gives it specific qualities that when it's combined with other amino acids into a peptide, a polymer, or protein, allows it to function and absorb all of the radiation and re-radiate that back out into the water around it, structuring the water, which is how actually cells begin to germinate into the life on this planet. You know what I'm saying? So it's a pigment that allows the cells to be able to interface with the sunlight at a higher level. Right. And melanin is able to store that and re-radiate that back out into the waters. But
let me ask you this. What about bottled water? We got to drink something when we out there on the road, when we working. What's up with bottled water first? And then what would be the best bottled water they have out there to offer us? What should be the best bottled water we should be drinking out the stores?
Well, the best bottled water to drink is Enqi's water. But if you can't get Enqi's water, then what you want to do is get spring water or artesian water. The closest you can get
spring water?
Spring water.
I thought Fuji would be good. Smart water. What's up with all that?
Well, smart water is purified, so that's garbage.
Oh,
just like
man.
Just like the new one that Pepsi came out with called Life Water. Garbage. They got the Illuminati signs on it.
Man, I thought I was doing something. I was drinking smart water, man. Come on, man.
No, smart water is no good. Fiji is good. It's okay. I like Volvic water. That's my favorite water right now. Volvic water to purchase out of stores. But like I said, spring water according to your budget, because water can be expensive. And people have to reprioritize. You know what I'm saying? People whine about buying a $2-3 bottle of water, but they got $200 shoes on. So it's a reprioritization that has to go on. But based on your budget, you just want to go as natural as possible. So spring water, artesian water, volcano water, mountain water, those are the ways to go. Anything natural. Purified, you don't want nothing purified, because that means tap. Like, as soon as you see purified, just let that translate into your mind as tap. The only purified water that I used to drink was Essentia, and that's because they are very transparent about their process of how they purify their water, and they don't use bacteria. They use a synthetic form of re-atmosphering the water and letting it condense and turn back into rainwater, et cetera, et cetera. But most of these places, just like the water plants in everybody's city, they use a bunch of bacteria that eat urine and they eat shit. I gotta keep it 100. And they dump the bacteria into the water, and the bacteria eats the urine, eats the shit. Then they transfer that water to another vat where they have another bacteria that eats the first bacteria. Then they transfer it to another vat where they have chemicals that kill off all those bacteria. And then they pump that water back out into the pipes in the people's houses. You know what I'm saying? So it's a whole combination of things that you don't want. Now, when people get real natural water, here's the thing that people have to understand. When you look at the oldest, the countries where people live to be the oldest, it's the water that helps them survive to pass 100, 120. And I don't mean the way people look in America when they reach 100, where they damn near look like shriveled raisins and prunes and can't get out of their chair. I'm talking about these people is 110, 115, still working outside around the house. It's because of the water they drink. But in America, we've been programmed and brainwashed, so we don't even understand what real water is supposed to look like. Real living water has live bacteria in it, minerals, vitamins, amino acids, all of those things are present in real living water. It's not even clear.
Let me ask you this, brother. We need to deal with some of this too. Let's say our people is on a journey. We're trying to lose a couple of pounds. What is the best way and the fastest way to lose pounds, a couple of pounds? I know water has a lot to do with it. We have to drink constant water all day, every day. So talk to us about, because I know you was also teaching our people about weight loss. So talk to us also about weight loss for those of the people that's out there, because we know gaining weight can definitely be dangerous to your health. Talk about that, brother.
Absolutely. Here's the biggest thing with our folks right now on weight loss. We're eating a lot of dead stuff. And when I say dead food, I don't just mean meat. The food that comes in cans and boxes, all that shit is dead. It don't have no life in it. Pastas and white rice and all that stuff. So it really goes in levels. So a lot of people try to make the health thing seem so complicated that most people just feel it's too difficult for them to do and they opt out. But the real thing is get light into your body. Seriously. I'm doing a show tomorrow, my radio show tomorrow, Chasing Enqi in the morning. We're going to talk about the #1 topic is the black man the new caveman? Is the black man the new caveman? And it's very deep that we have to talk about this, because now we have been reduced to living outside the sunlight. So what happens is our circadian rhythm starts to have a mismatch or falls out of sync with the rest of the body. When that happens, your metabolism goes through the floor and everything you eat sticks to your body, because we're living in a never-ending false morning. It never becomes nighttime for us. It never becomes wintertime for us. It never becomes fall. And why? We're always bathed in a sea of bright ass blue light. So getting outside, get some sunlight in your eyes at the right time. That's number one. Getting some exercise. That's crucial. That is number two, exercise. And these are things that I can't sell people because a product is not attached to them going out getting some sunlight. A product is not attached to them getting some exercise. And when I say exercise, that could just be jumping jacks. That could just be them going to get a jump rope. That could just be them playing with their children. If y'all hear my boys running around in the background. These are simple keys. Then we take it to the next level. We try to eliminate the dehydrating things from the diet. All of the caffeine-based tea, the coffee, the soda, these critical things. Then we start to deal with the bread. Then we start to deal with the cow's milk. Then we start to deal with the cheese. A lot of people have a problem getting off cheese, and what they don't understand is that it's the dopamine receptors in the brain that's addicted to the cheese, because the cheese has casomorphine in it. It's a version of heroin. It's the same type of morphine that they give people in the methadone clinic when they're trying to beat heroin. And it's a concentrated amount in cheese because all breast milk has it.
So this is what you mean by biological suicide by ignorance. We do this, you know, with ignorance because it's lack of knowledge, and we don't want to take the time out to do the research and the study. And when we go shopping, we don't read the back of packages. We just go out there and just get it because it looks good. We throw it in the cart and we walk away with it.
Man, you couldn't have said that no better, brother. The biological suicide by ignorance is, and like, it just don't get no clearer because we the ones that sits with our cell phone. Women put their cell phone in their bra. They sleep with the cell phone under their pillow. Men, we fall asleep. It's getting so bad that we don't understand that we'll wake up. We'll put the cell phone on vibrate and the cell phone is still able to wake us up. That's because we don't understand how the pigment works in our body. It's the pigment, the melanopsin, that responds to the blue light coming from the LED screen that also calcifies the pineal. Right. So we don't understand that we becoming cavemen. We have a calcified pineal gland now. We the ones that live in caves because we come from the house to the car, to the job, to school, to the supermarket, back to the house. We no longer spend any time in natural sunlight. We're losing our minds and our sanity because of these things. And it's causing our circadian rhythm to break, which is causing us to put on all of this weight. And a lot of the weight, is due to inflammation. Internal inflammation we're producing, but these cytokines are being produced in the body by white blood cells at an unnecessarily high rate. And it's causing a pandemic of brain tumors and brain cancer. And it's not just the EMF fields. It's the blue light, all right? But we don't understand that. So we're looking in the eye, we don't understand the eye. The eye serves more purpose than vision. The eye actually is to consume, to eat the number one nutrient that we need in our body, which is light, okay? And this is why the mom atomics is so crucial, because it boosts the body's deuterium levels, or heavy hydrogen, which increases the circulating electrons throughout the mitochondria in the blood plasma. This is why I spent 3 years teaching people about plasma, and it's like they still don't understand it. Your body's water-based. 99.9999% of the molecules in your body will always be water. Even though the percentage of hydration changes as a baby going up to adult, the molecules of water are much smaller, and everything in your body is composed of water. This is why I was saying them dudes didn't really understand haplotype, haplogroup science, because it has everything to do with diet. So if you're talking about haplotypes and haplogroups, but you still eating steak, I know for a damn sure you might be able to repeat the information, but you don't understand what it is that you're saying. You know, so all of these things is basic. And then when you look at the people's moods being out of order, and the reason why people smoke so much weed, you know how much weed I done smoked in my lifestyle? I had to really understand the science of the endocannabinoid system to really understand where this craving is coming from and why people's moods is out of sync. Anybody that smoke weed know if they don't have no weed, they're going to be aggressive and angry to everybody around them. They're not going to be able to get to sleep at night. All of these is keys that your body is getting sick. And it's because we're not getting enough omegas in. So bringing it back around to your question about weight loss, the number one missing component from diets, and this is why vegetarians are suffering, Vegetarians are suffering more than anybody else because they're not getting the healthy fats in their diet. They're not getting omega-3s in, and they're not getting omega-6 in. And omega-3 is responsible for putting DHA into the body. DHA is what allows for the pigment all throughout the body to convert light into DC current. Okay, DC current is what regenerates the body and the tissues. If you go back to my book, The Melanin Mind State, I wrote about the secondary or primary nervous system that we have that predates what we know of as the parasympathetic and sympathetic nerve systems. It's called the perineural system. This is where the DC current flows throughout the body. But a lot of us, especially vegetarians and vegans, aren't getting enough omega-3s and enough DHA in. And this is why I created the formula, the compound called pink lips. Pink lips has a high amount of kelp as well as the Chondrus crispus, which is the specific type of sea moss that Sebi recommended in a capsule form so that people can digest it very easily. It's called pink lips. A lot of people have trouble prepping it. A lot of people don't like the taste. So we put it in capsules so it's very easy. I also combined that with silica. And there's a reason I combined it with silica. It's because when you combine the Chondrus crispus with silica, you are able to regenerate the stem cells in the body. And this is why the pink lips is so crucial and powerful in terms of people's health and turning a lot of our body's genetics back into the state where they wanted to, where they should be.
So let me ask you this now.
Go ahead.
Let me ask you this. You talked about the weed and when people smoke weed. When we talk to people, they tell you that is a herb. So how could the herb hurt you? People make all kind of excuses about the weed and they say that it's a herb.
Well, no. It's not necessarily that the weed is hurting them, but most of us put it into cigars, and that is what causes most of the damage in the body. But just not understanding the biochemistry of marijuana. See, it's an estrogen-inducing substance, so it produces more estrogen in the body. And for men, it's going to lower the sperm count, sperm motility. It's going to lower their sexual prowess and have them thinking they need Viagra's and things like that. When if you're going to smoke weed or eat weed or drink weed, what you have to do is have balancing things in the diet to make sure that testosterone is at the right level, as well as all of the rest of the hormones. This is why we have the Big Bang Theory, the Godhead, to get the testosterone levels right. But the main thing with that is people won't need to smoke so much. You got people on loud and they need 10 blunts of loud. Every 5 minutes they rolling up loud. The reason is because they don't have omega-6 in their diet. Omega-6 is what your body converts into endocannabinoids. Endocannabinoids are cannabinoids that your body produces itself. So you don't need the marijuana plant for cannabinoids. Your body produces cannabinoids from omega-6. But because omega-6 is deficient in the diet, we have a higher propensity to keep looking and reaching to grabbing marijuana when we're trying to replace something that should be naturally produced in the body. Then we can begin to use marijuana back like the priest did to modulate DMT release throughout the lungs and the pineal gland and deal with the altered states of consciousness, but that's another conversation. So what I'm saying is not necessarily that the weed is bad. I'm just saying that because we have a poor understanding of our biochemistry, we don't really understand how we're supposed to use that plant, and we're misusing it, combining it with tobacco that further exacerbates the inflammation that's going on, that's making us a nation full of fat asses in the first place.
I hear so many herbalists out there, so many doctors out there, they all talk that we have the cure for cancer. But if the people really had a cure for cancer, number one, they would be rich, they would be millionaires right now. How come there's not an influx of our people flocking to them? If they really had a cure, why is our people still dying? I mean, are we playing games? Not you, I'm just saying, are we playing games with this? Because so many people out there, I've got the cure. I cured this one. I cured that one. If that's true, then how come it's still so many people dying? And you should have been a millionaire by now. Our people should have been millionaires. Talk to us.
I can speak firsthand to that. First of all, 80% of the people saying that are lying. They're listening to people that had a cure or that have been able to cure people.
Right.
They're just mimicking what those people said and did and trying to duplicate that success. But a lot of times, you don't really understand the paradigm unless you're doing it yourself. Like I said, I've been able to reverse a lot of illnesses, but that's because of the luck of the draw. I had Mom Atomics on my side. I didn't really understand the full dynamics of what I was doing. One of the main things that I put everybody with an autoimmune disease, everybody that has cancer on, is not only Mom Atomics, very specific sunlight dietary regimen. Specifically from the time of 10 o'clock till 2 o'clock, which is the time that UVB is at its strongest. Now, people that don't live in places where they can get sunlight or UVB radiation from September to April, which is anywhere north of Georgia, they suffer the most. The clinical results have already been done. The further people from the equator get away from the equator, the higher the incidence of cancer. That is specifically because of genetic uncoupling. And genetic uncoupling, the mitochondria begins to get mutations in it and no longer communicates with the nuclear DNA inside of each cell. That is the root cause of cancer. That's the root. Now, when you have a particular diet filled in garbage, those are the things that induce and allow for these mutations to take hold in cells, and then it becomes an errant cell, and that cell can recruit other cells, especially if you have a high amount of white adipose tissue in the body. Now, without getting too deep into cancer itself, the reason why a lot of our people are not having their cancers reversed is because it's substance abuse. These people are unwilling to give up the Pepsi. They unwilling to give. I have an aunt right now. My aunt Nadine got both forms of lupus. She been to at least 6 of my lectures, and she says she don't give a fuck what I say, just like that. She ain't never given up lamb chops and pork chops. You heard me?
Right.
So it really comes down to a couple of things. People having the real information, people being genuine with this health industry and this health business, but also people being re-educated and changing their priorities and really understanding what is natural for their body. What's natural for your body is not what's natural for everybody's body. And it's based on your mitochondrial DNA. So women get hit the hardest because they're the ones that keep that line of the DNA pure. And we don't really understand. We have 2 genomes in our body. Your nuclear DNA is viral. It's a viral form of replication that takes place there. Your mitochondrial DNA is bacterial. So when you look inside every cell in your body, except for with the exception of red blood cells, but every other cell in your body, you have 2 genomes you have to feed. One of them takes care of the structural components of your body. That's the nuclear DNA. The mitochondrial DNA takes care of the energy in the body. And that is where most cancers occur because you have so much more mitochondrial DNA than nuclear DNA. There's a lot more chance for mutations to sneak in. And this is why you see cancer cells kill other cells by starving them because they eat everything. These are energy starved cells because Black people have a much higher diet of light than everyone else. And this is where you get into the conversation about leptin versus ghrelin. Ghrelin and leptin work the same way as glucagon and insulin do. Only thing is leptin and ghrelin tell the brain when it has enough electricity or electrons and when it has enough photons. So it serves as a measure for electromagnetic sustenance in the body. We have these things in the body. The body is a lot more well built than people understand. But when you look at the eye has 137 million parts to it. That's one eyeball. People don't take that science. They're not really understanding. They're not going that at depth that we're going to have to go to if we want to really call ourselves holistic healers. You have to be able to sit holistic healers. We have to be able to sit with herbalists, but we also have to be able to sit with surgeons and MDs and PhDs and have these conversations. And I've been privileged to be able to sit in hospitals now. A lot of doctors are beginning to understand that I have a different understanding of the body than most of the people who call themselves holistic healers because they took my course. I have the God Complex online, and it is a course that I've taken from colleges. I've taken the entire 4-year college course of nutrition and health and put that side by side with holistic healing. So people can go to my website, 40dayfruitfast.com, and they can get both at the same time. Now, for people who graduate and complete that course, we have the Melanin Magi course that's getting ready to start next month. And that is the entire doctor course. I have all of the MCAT books. I spent the last year going through all the MCAT books, all the practice tests, getting ready so I could be able to teach that side by side with the information that I got 5,000-year-old text on the body, the light body, the Ba, the Ka, the Merkaba, and really being able to ground this stuff where a lot of people, because they didn't really have an understanding, they're like, oh, that must be pseudoscience. But that shows that how stupid they are.
All right, let me ask you this, brother. We dealt with the weed. We dealt with the herbs. Cigarettes. There's a lot of our people out there smoking cigarettes. They quote unquote conscious. They know what it does to them. Talk about the effects of cigarettes in long term. What does that do to the brain, to the lungs? Let's get into the cigarette smokers. Maybe you can encourage them. If you really get dramatic enough, you can make their ass stop today, goddammit. Talk to the people about the effects of that cigarette, of that tobacco, of what it does to the lungs, man. Because when I used to smoke, it was in my clothes, it was in my pores, it was in my fingertips. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it was just a nasty, nasty thing, brother. Talk about that.
And it, first of all, it bleeds.
Yeah.
It bleeds electricity from your body. It stops the lungs from being able to communicate electricity to the red blood cells in the body. It starves all of the tissues in the body. It is a collision course with cancer. There's no way to smoke cigarettes long term and not get cancer. It shuts down the mitochondria and speeds up the mutation rate in the mitochondrial DNA. This is where the seed of cancer comes from. Now, in every hospital, we don't all been to hospitals to visit people. In every one of them hospitals, it's a whole bunch of floors in these hospitals that you're not allowed to get off on. And the reason being is because the cigarette companies have lobbied the government to keep this shit private. Everybody in them floors is disfigured, horrible beyond recognition. Some of them are missing the entire front of their chest plate, where you can literally see their organs. So they have to walk around with sheets covering their body. Some of them have no skin on the front part of their neck, so you can literally see the veins. Like, this is what's going on and what's being hidden. So they still run the commercials where people look healthy and handsome, big muscles, girls got nice flat stomachs, fat booties with cigarettes. That is not the reality. Everybody is becoming grossly disfigured with cigarettes. Cigarettes also shrinks the capillaries in the body. It's the second cause of amputations, diabetes being the first cause of amputations. So when we look at these Vietnam veterans and Army veterans and all these guys that's in wheelchairs with no legs, 68% of them didn't have nothing at all happen to their ass in the war. 68% of them are disfigured because the Navy, none of the military ever put these guys on a good nutritional diet plan to keep them healthy. So they got diabetes and they all smoke cigarettes, so their capillaries shrunk and they had to get their legs and their arms and all that cut off because they're getting gangrene in the feet, primarily from cigarettes and the combination of sugar in the cigarettes because the tobacco is cured with sugar. So you're getting sugar directly into the lungs combined with high amounts of ammonia. The reason why it affects black people more than any other people on earth is because we don't have an ammonia transport chain. So the first thing it does before it gets to cancer in many people is shut their kidneys down, because it's too much ammonia being produced from the meat. It's too much ammonia from the cigarettes. It's too much alcohol being produced in the gut from the yeast and the fungus, which is giving people leaky gut syndrome and disfigured colons. These are things that's combining to shut people's bodies down. So we're taking years off our life with these things, and people say, well, you got to go somehow. That's cool, but check this out. I'd rather go in my sleep or in a goddamn airplane crash than a slow, torturous cancer death where I got to be disfigured and mutilated. And the number one sign that you're losing your health and you're on your way to autoimmune disease or cancer is when your dick stops working. That's the easiest sign. You don't need to go to no doctor, no holistic herbalist, nowhere. When you wake up in the morning and your thing is soft, buddy, you're in trouble. And if you get with your woman and she rubbing on you, touching on you, and you still can't get it up, you are headed for autoimmune disease. That means that the inflammation has already seeped into your testicles, your prostate, and your penis. It's over. You got to get your life together quick. And the same thing for women. If you don't wake up in the morning and you don't have that sensation in your breast, you don't have that in your nipples, guess what? You're headed for autoimmune disease. This is why there's so many women getting breast cancer that don't have a BRCA1 gene or a BRCA2 gene, which are the genes that supposed to give women a high disposition to getting breast cancer. But I've seen it over and over and over. I've been through hundreds of clinical papers. Only 25% of the women that get breast cancer have a BRCA1 or BRCA2 gene. That means there's 3 times as much women with a BRCA1 or BRCA2 gene that never, ever produce breast cancer. And 75% of the women with breast cancer don't even have those genes to begin with. But I'll tell you what they take out of every breast cancer. Every breast cancer, not every, 70% of the breast cancers, they have mice and rat DNA in the breast cancer. And women say, oh, well, my house is clean. My house is clean. Yeah, but guess what? The cigarette processing plants is just like the meat processing plants. There's no way to stop the feces and the mice from getting into these processing plants, so they wrap them up into the cigarettes. They're not going to throw away 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 cigarettes because they see mice. They selling them joints. They're not going to throw away 100,000, 200,000 pounds of beef because rats shit in there. No, the FDA rules that as long as there's 5 to 6 rat droppings or less in the meat, in these packs of cigarettes and all this kind of stuff, it's legal. In fact, people that smoke weed inside Dutch Masters and all these different strawberry cigars and all this mango cigar and all this other bullshit, there's no regulation on the 4,000 plus chemicals that these cigarette companies are able to put into these.
Talk to the people about that, and let's get back into the health teaching. Okay, what you got coming up?
Well, what we're doing is with the health conference is this. We are giving people 3 different perspectives, and we have a sister come in to teach and talk to the women herself. I think that's very needed. We have to concentrate on building families. That's one of the biggest things that we're breaking up, and it's causing a serious dynamic, especially with hormones. A lot of men are not around when the baby's born. Pheromones actually activate child or infant hormones. So this is where you see the rise in young men being becoming adults that have more female hormones than male hormones. The sperm count is at an all-time low. Sperm motility is at an all-time low. Potency, all-time low. Women are being told in hospitals that they're getting false positive pregnancy tests when really they were pregnant, but their body has so much starch in it and so much caffeine and is so dehydrated that they are actually losing the baby without a trace, because the baby is almost all water in the first couple of weeks. So being dehydrated alone is enough for your baby to dissipate. So we're going to talk about all of these issues. We're going to talk about the understanding of where we are in this time period moving through this advanced solar cycle with so much information being released to the people right now and what to do with it. We're going to talk about hands-on workshops that we have available to really get out to the people. Now, in terms of the chasing Enqi in the morning, so many people been chasing Enqi, you know, trying to get up with me and have consultations and talk and build and structure some things for their cities. I thought it was important to just create an interface that was free. I don't want to charge the people for everything. But like I said, we got Chasing Enqi in the morning where people can call me every day live. And we talk about all the subjects. Like I said, tomorrow we're going to deal with, is the black man the new caveman? I mean, we got to have this place where people can discuss this stuff and feel comfortable. You know what I'm saying? Like another house of consciousness, but just really science and issue driven and early in the morning. You know what I'm saying? So you got the evening lockdown. We're going to be hitting them in the head in the morning. And we want you to guess, you know, stop through and add your specific special Harlem shit on top of that. You know what I'm saying? But so we're going to talk about that tomorrow. You know, a lot of people was hitting me up like, yo, what you feel about that? And, you know, so we're going to talk about it. You know,
masturbation. How healthy is it if it is healthy? Masturbation, brother. Talk about that.
Well, I would say this with masturbation, it can go both ways. If you're not having sex, it's healthy to masturbate at least, I would say, once or twice a month, because you need to release them fluids and keep your body in shape of replacing those fluids and keeping your hormones going. But yeah, most of us is not in that situation. Most of us is having sex on a regular basis, and because we're so addicted to porn and soft porn, we can't get enough, and we don't have any discipline. So we have to understand that when you release that fluid, you're killing yourself slowly. You're releasing light, you're releasing electrons, you're releasing hormones, you're releasing brain matter, you're releasing protein, you're releasing a lot of things that you can't replace. It takes the body 72 hours to replace that fluid. So you can't really be going crazy 2-3 times a day, because it's going to cause advanced aging and it's going to shrink the telomeres in the body. And we already have a massive crisis in terms of telomerase production, which is the enzyme that actually keeps those healthy in the body. And that's one of the main causes of advanced aging. Now, when you add that in with the blue light and the pineal gland being calcified in black folks, people think that, oh, I'm a black man, my pineal gland is working fine. No. I'm going through the pictures from the neurologist. I'm going through the pictures from the morticians, showing that after 18 years old, black folks have more calcification in their pineal gland than anybody else, because we now live like cavemen indoors every day. And these fast foods are particularly aimed at shutting down the circulation of electricity, in particular light to the eye. And a lot of us are so dumb, we're jackasses. This is what I'm saying. Biological suicide by ignorance. We're wearing shades all day. We're wearing shades all day, voluntarily blocking out the sunlight from hitting the eye. Sunlight going into your eye is the #1 nutrition. So when we keep putting on all these shades, we thinking we looking swaggy. Nigga, you looking like a fucking jackass. Then niggas got shades on at night, shades on inside the building, shades on in their house, shades on outside, and we don't go outside enough. That's one of the things that, and I gotta big up my man, the Giant, with the bartenders. You know, I was right there on 135th and 7th, 135th between, I think, Lennox and 7th in the gym right there, you know, before this nigga, Sharpton changed it into, and I do mean nigga, N-I-G-G-E-R. Before Sharpton turned it into his office when it was a gym, I was there when the bartender started. One of the most powerful things, and I don't even know if the Giant even understands this component of what he teaches. but it's that they teach to work out outdoors, out in the sunshine, out in the fresh air, shirt off, body exposed. They're getting an exceptionally high amount of UVB. They get an exceptionally high amount of shortwave and longwave infrared. There's a lot of key things that they're getting into the body, which changes the body on top of the pull-ups and the push-ups. It's not even so much the exercise, it's that they're getting their respiration up and their cellular respiration up and absorbing more light than the average person, because we are only outside exposed to the sun for maybe 15 minutes a day. And that's crazy. Our bodies were designed to be outside for more than 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 hours a day. And now we're out there for 12 minutes a day. And some of us not even that long, because all windows, car windows, office building windows, apartment window, house windows, all these windows block UV radiation from coming through. So people that think because the sun's coming through their window, they're getting some light, they fooling themselves.
Does Minister Enqi have a book? So do you have a book? Are you in the process of writing a book, brother?
Yes, I'm actually in the process of writing a book and a complete course on the light body, the subtle bodies, like I was talking about earlier. And a lot of people thought this was pseudoscience, and even though our ancestors left this science to us, and it shows how stupid they are, for lack of there's no other way to say it, because we know the body's electric, and we know that electric current produces electric and magnetic fields, and it also produces light. So you can't have a physical electrical body without having a magnetic body, without having a light body. See, this is the bar in the car, the science thereof. So we get ready to go heavy into that and talk about why pigment and melanin is so important in our paradigm, and why it's being overlooked in health, why we're being overloaded with sulfur products and all of these various things, and then how to cultivate and activate those things. And what I'm working on building is a separate website for advanced adepts in terms of this health, because a lot of people say, well, brother, you know what? I know you got to teach the masses, but what about us? What about the people that's advanced already? We already been vegetarian and vegan, and we've been on this level and da-da-da-da. So I'm going to create a website just for them to go deeper into the science and the real understanding of how light, magnetism, and those things work in the body. And that's going to be in the science of the melanin magi. And I'll be teaching that alongside the MCAT. So everything is a comparative study. It's not just going to be light, sound, vibration, magnetism in the body. It's going to be that taught side by side with all of the MCAT books, so that we can see exactly what these doctors know, what they don't know, and be able to tear their ass up. Okay, brother. One of the things we have not touched on yet, and we got to touch on the sisters, the womb. You know, Enqi, I always say this because we got to deal with this. Our women out there are losing their womb, the vagina. They are taking it out. These doctors are taking it out. Let's talk about that. Go ahead, brother. This is why I got Sister Jazz coming out on the 25th in February out here in the D. And this is why I got Sister Abundance every Wednesday on the show, Chasing Enqi, early in the morning, so that I can have women speak directly to women, because a lot of times women don't respect when they hear it from us. Facts. But a large cause of all these problems is how women deal with their cycle and their understanding of their cycle. The cycle is a time when your womb is regenerating, getting out all the toxins. Your cycle should never be 5, 6, 7 days of heavy bleeding. Once that's going on, that's a sign of high inflammation. And you need, if the cycle is 5, 6, 7 days of heavy bleeding, that's a sign of heavy inflammation, and you got to make some changes. Number 2, we got to address the maxi pads and the tampons coated with chemicals that women is using. And then we have to deal with the men's health, because our penises is crazy. It's rancid with all kinds of yeast and fungus from what we're eating. So what happens is the women are actually incubating STDs in the vagina. And this is where new strains of STDs are coming from, is the combination of improper cleansing in the womb. You know, a lot of times they're using these douching products, which is not natural. One of the greatest things that Sabi contributed to the holistic health movement was his actual natural douche, which we are working on. Me, Brother KT and I actually reproducing another one for the sisters, a natural one, herbal based. Now there's some stuff that's floating around on the market. We don't co-sign it at all. But really, it's about the pads and the incubation of archaea and prokaryotes with dirty penises, really, and then the dehydration. I really can't bring it back no more than the dehydration. This is why so many women suffer through their menstrual cycle. They shouldn't suffer through their menstrual cycle. They shouldn't have debilitating pain, headache, stomach ache. This is a calcium deficiency, magnesium deficiency, and pure dehydration. So this is, again, that Mama Atomics has been able to really combat a lot of these core basic issues by providing the D2O, the heavy hydrogen, by providing the O2, by providing high levels of selenium for our genetics, by providing high levels of silica to regenerate the stem cells in the body, which is a #1 issue when dealing with cycles, because that's what the endothelium, or the inner layer inside a woman's womb that comes out with her cycle, that is the richest source of stem cells on earth. And this is why a lot of hospitals now are trying to take that, revamp that, because they realize from Henrietta Lacks, there is a very rich source of stem cells in our sisters' vaginas. And our sisters don't understand that. And we don't understand that stem cells is not something that you just sit around and have until a doctor can extract it in a laboratory and do something with it. No, these things is responsible for regenerating your body every single day of the week, every minute of the day, in conjunction with your hormones and your pineal, pituitary, and hypothalamus, if they're getting the right amounts and right type of light to stimulate the right cascade of hormone flow and the right unfolding of all of the proteins that make up the body in structured water inside the cells. But we don't have any of that going on. So this is why I'm saying pH is not even important in water. What's important is that the water induce structuring inside the cells. That's all dependent upon the amount of hydrogen in the water and the amount of minerals in the water. And that's why I said earlier, these countries where people live to be 120, 130, 110 on a regular basis, their water to American standards will be dirty. But American standards is backwards. They tell us don't drink any water with bacteria in it. Then they tell you to go to the vitamin shop in GNC and buy probiotics, which is nothing but bacteria extracted from fermented milk. So we got to get this understanding ourselves and really understand we got to go back to these natural things. So that's how we got to combat this thing. And our sisters is the key, because that is where all of the life comes from. And if they're not getting the right amount of light, the babies don't come out with pineal and pituitary and hypothalamus functioning at 100%, which means the babies are going to have learning deficiencies, which means they're going to have ADD, ADHD, because these are lighting deficiencies. They've already done the studies in the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s. People that's interested, they can go get a book called Health and Light by John Ott. They did studies 60, 70 years ago to show that when you have these situations where children are inundated with nothing but blue light all day, which is what you get from the fluorescent lights, the LEDs, especially these energy efficient bulbs. The energy efficient bulbs are energy efficient because they deleted the UV and the infrared part of the spectrum coming off of the bulbs. So now all you're getting is yellow and blue light. This is what drives the children's minds batty. This is what stops the pineal gland from producing melatonin. So this is why people can't sleep at night. If they can't sleep at night, the organs in the body lose sync with each other. Once the organs in the body can't talk to each other, it's a breeding ground for disease. It's really important for the women also to try to cut down on all of the yeast in the diet.
Okay.
Yeast is very, very powerful in terms of internal fermentation. And really, you know, I just can't stress it enough. You know, the more yeast we put into the diet, the more internal alcohol we produce. We already drinking Hennessy. We already winding it up. We already doing Cavassier and Ciroc and all this crazy shit. we got to cut down on the yeast because we're producing too much alcohol, and alcohol is thinning out the tissues. It's thinning out the tissues. And when you thin out the tissues, the membranes of the cells in specific.
All right, Minister Enqi, we got the callers calling in. We got the callers. Peace and Black Power family. What's your name and where you calling from?
Peace. Can you hear me?
I hear you loud and clear. Minister Enqi is live. We on the live.
All right, cool. How you brothers doing? My name is Mia. I'm from Queens, New York. I'm out in Cali right now. But I wanted to know really quickly because I'm actually all the way vegan right now, and you know, I'm still transitioning. I want to ultimately get to just a straight raw food diet. But for now, you know, just until I can discipline myself a little bit more, I've been kind of dealing with a lot of foods from the non-GMO veggie meat section at the health food stores. Is it enough that these particular products are non-GMO and organic, or are these products still bad for us?
Well, here's the thing. What you want to do is remember your goal. And this is why I had to bring this out. Hopefully enough in the show. I know we got to probably really hit it a few more times for people to get it. But the idea is to get back to life. When we look at the animal eating, you want to go past the animals and get to the vegetables. The vegetables have a lot more light in them, the fruit, the algae, et cetera, but we can't lose sight of the fact that it's the light that we're trying to consume. That's what creates the nutrients, the minerals, all of the things that are good in the food. So outside of light, what we're also looking for are enzymes. So when we eat these meat substitutes, remember, these are devoid of light. They're devoid of enzymes. So although they don't have meat in them, you know, there's no meat there. Remember, there's no life there either. I would suggest things more like sweet potatoes to replace your meat, or eggplant is good to replace your meat. You know, if you're going to deal with a little morning star, some of the crazy stuff, that's cool. But just remember, those are transitioning things. And you don't want to make a diet around replacing meat, because we were never supposed to be on meat in the first place. So you want to start to get your taste buds back acclimated to vegetables and fruits. And if you want to go and replace that meat feeling, just use some heavier, starchier things for now until you can get your light diet all the way intact. You know what I'm saying? But
all right.
I hope that's a good answer for you. So yes.
Yeah, it's a good answer, bro. I really appreciate that. Something in my gut told me that, you know, because I'm enjoying it too much, it's probably not the remedy. You know what I mean?
Peace and Black Power family. Welcome to Sinetta TV. What's your name? Where you calling from?
My name is Masar Thomas Jr., calling from Lakewood, New Jersey.
Yes, you have a question for the minister. What's up?
Yes, I was wondering what can we do about testosterone?
Testosterone. All right, brother Minister Enqi, you heard that?
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of things that could be depleting your testosterone. Soy depletes testosterone. Alcohol depletes testosterone. Weed, if you don't balance the diet correctly, depletes testosterone. So there's a lot of things. Yeah, lack of exercise depletes testosterone. And if you are working out, a lot of brothers, like I was talking about the good things about what the bartenders do, there's a downside to what the bartenders do as well. They don't focus enough on legs. And legs is what actually sends the signal up to the pituitary gland to begin to release growth hormone and testosterone and the cascade of anabolic hormones that builds the body. So really making sure that the people that are working out actually get some legs in, because your legs were designed to be worked out every day, all day, because they have to carry us around. So the back and the chest are not necessarily designed for heavy working out every day. The legs are designed to be worked out every day because they have to carry your body. So all of these things combined happen. blood. Dirty blood is going to stop you from not having the healthy. And when you say testosterone, what is the reason why you're saying that? A lot of times people ask you about testosterone is because they're not getting the right erection. And your erection is based on nitric oxide content in the blood. That's one of the key things to producing a good erection, nitric oxide content in the blood. And what actually produces nitric oxide in the blood is when the sunlight hits the skin. So the sunlight hitting the skin produces a lot more than vitamin D. Or like I said, be indoors bathing in blue and yellow light. So we're not getting that UV to hit the skin. And all we need to produce nitric oxide is UVA, which is plentiful. We don't even actually need the UVB, which is what we make vitamin D with, and marijuana plants used to make THC.
All right, let's move forward. We got a few callers. Thank you for calling in, my brother. Appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, peace and Black Power family. You all now live on Sarnetta Studios. What's up?
Yeah, this is your brother Saul from Florida, Palm Beach.
All right, you have any question for Minister?
Question about gene modification in meat.
Okay, what's the question?
And I want to know the effects. I'm gonna listen offline, but I want to know the effects because we got this new technology called CRISPR, and I want to know the effects of CRISPR on our meat. But I'll come off the line.
All right, thank you. All right, brother Minister, you heard that?
The meat CRISPR. Wow. I have never really got deep into the meat CRISPR. I know that it's a fridge component for people to be able to like store meat. It's supposed to keep it longer. But really, you got to get off the meat. Like, you got to get off meat. Listen, they use, first of all, a lot of people did the knowledge on pork, but what they don't understand is that pork intestine cells is what they use to glaze beef, chicken, and turkey with to keep it looking fresh in the package, right? So what I'm saying is meat, the whole meat industry, we gotta get off meat. There's no reason to try to figure out what anything is going to do to meat.
Okay, brother. We want to take this next caller. Peace and Black Power family. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Peace and Black Power. This is Israel from Phoenix. Peace and Black Power, the side, and Minister Enqi. And I want to ask him, was powder sea moss good and powder bladder rack? And if they're good, are they good to mix? And I hang up so I can hear them.
Hold on, don't hang up yet. Let's make sure he hear your question clearly first. All right.
I did. Yeah, and they're definitely good.
All right, go ahead, brother. You can hang up. He hear you. He gonna go in on it.
Yeah, they.
All right, peace and Black Power.
Peace, brother.
They're definitely good. You just got to make sure what you're getting. You know, the Irish moss is a lot better to use in terms of if you're looking to cleanse the body. It's much more of a detoxing agent and it breaks things down. The Chondrus crispus that Sabi promoted is a different type of moss, and it builds the body up. It holds 200 times this amount in water, so it'll help the body hydrate, particularly because it can hold hydrogen, but you don't want to miss out on pure hydrogen itself. Now, bladderwrack, you want to make sure you go easy on the bladderwrack. A lot of people just hearing something is good for their body and they loading up on it. Bladderwrack will speed up your metabolism to the point where you'll look like a cancer patient if you don't know how to mix it properly. So, you know, a lot of times these things really need a little bit of coaching and guidance. People think, you know, just because they heard something's good, they use it, they mix it, they read Sabi's thing, and that's where a lot of that conversation is coming from.
Hope you get a better connection next time, brother. You keep cutting off on me,
I'm
brother.
trying to cut out the people that know how to do it and do it themselves. And a lot of times they have the wrong ratios in terms of how to mix these things. So the chemiluminescence has Irish moss in it. The pinkness has Chondrus crispus.
You echoing. All right, so brother Minister, I want to say peace, brother. I really enjoyed this show, brother. This was really good. I loved it, and I can't wait for part 2.